Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to be on part 9 already of the Spy Hunter sit-down restoration. These have been sitting outside for probably about an hour and a half in the sun. It's going to be 90 again today. We're going to go around with a pencil and we are going to circle the areas that I need to put a little bit of that glazing filler in. That U-pull glazing filler that I use. The reason why I use a pencil rather than a Sharpie is Sharpie could bleed through your paint. Okay, if you were painting this white and you had circled it with a black Sharpie and you didn't sand it all off, you do run the possibility of having that Sharpie bleed through your paint. Obviously, this is getting painted black, not a big deal, but I always just tend to use a pencil because Sharpie is also oil-based, and an oil-based marker could also react with your paint, so you don't want to do that. So let's go around and I'm going to show you a couple spots that I'm going to circle, and we're going to put the glazing filler on before we sand. The reason why I put the glazing filler on before we sand is when you sand this down, okay, any low spots, you're going to have dust stick in there, and you can you know, blow it off and stuff like that, but you still run the risk of having dust stuck in there. So by putting the filler on first, it'll adhere better to the primer. Plus the areas that you're filling in are rougher, so it's going to stick just fine, and they're so minor it doesn't really matter. So areas like this, don't know if you can see it in the sun, but there's a little dip right there and pinholes and stuff at the bottom of the wood. So I'm gonna go ahead and do all that and then I'll be back. There's actually a lock hole I forgot to fill in right here. So we're gonna grind it first and then fill it in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create like a belly around the hole, and then we're going to fill it in with short strand fiberglass. So by doing that, we are creating a dipped in area that the short strand fiberglass has it to go around the hole. And what that does is that makes it the hole less likely to come back. If we just put the short strand fiberglass in the hole itself and didn't put that dip in there around the hole, chances are it'll shrink back and you'll actually see that hole. So I totally forgot that hole was there. So good thing I'm not going to try to paint this tomorrow because it's going to dry a couple days and it might shrink a little bit. And when we go to sand it before paint, we'll be able to take care of that. So I'm going to get a little bit of short strand fiberglass. Get this at Harbor Freight. It's $20 a quart. You can order it online in a gallon, but it's kind of a bit much. If you don't use it a lot, it's kind of a waste of money. So a gallon's probably a little bit cheaper, but not much. So we're going to put this on. I got to let this dry for a little bit. And then we'll sand this down. And then we're going to fill in all those chip marks that I saw, that I circled. And then we'll, fill all those in. And then once those dry, we are going to sand the whole cabinet down with 180 grit and see if we see anything else after we sand it down with 180. And if we find anything else, we'll touch that up with a little bit more of the glazing filler, which is right here. U-pull from O'Reilly Auto Parts. So like I said, if we find anything else after we're done sanding, we'll touch it up. And then we will spray probably 3 more coats of 2K primer on it. And then we'll let it sit. And then tomorrow, we'll start knocking out the parts for the cabinet. The monitor frame, the all the metal parts. We'll get them sanded and start painting them all. They're all in pretty good shape, so I don't think they're going to need much work, but we'll sand everything down and get them all painted up. So let's go put this in this hole and we'll let it set for a little bit. Now when you put it in this hole, you got to really push it in good, because if you don't, you're only going to get it, you know, on the top surface. You want to get it in the hole. You could use a wooden dowel too, but this will work just as good. All right, I'm gonna let that dry for a little bit and I'll be back. Okay, I'm just gonna sand that spot real quick, and then we're gonna mix up the glazing filler and hit all the spots, including that again, because it's gonna need it. That's why I figured I'd let that dry for a little bit, sand it, and then I could just hit it with the glazing filler with everything else. So you can see there's still a low spot in it right here. So we'll fill that in. But if you notice, you see how much bigger this is? The hole's right here, but we have it extended to here. So this being short strand fiberglass, there's little strands of fiberglass that are bonding over that hole, and that's what helps hold it in place. And also be less likely to show areas that shrink back. I mean, it probably will a little bit. Good news is like I said, it's 90 degrees out and the sun is just beating on that. So it's gonna cure it really fast. So now we're gonna mix up some of this glazing filler here. Then I'm gonna let this set for a little bit. If you let your filler set for like a half an hour, you can sand it after like 15 minutes. But if you let it set a little bit longer, it'll start shrinking back more. And that'll cause you less shrink back problems in the future, you know what I mean? If you just go on it real quickly and then sand it and then primer it right away with just doing it fast, it'll shrink back more underneath the primer. So I'm gonna apply this actually now, and then I'm actually gonna go get something to eat, let it sit for a good hour in the sun, and then come back, sand it down, and we should be ready for primer after that. We got to sand the whole cabinet, obviously. I'm only putting a little bit of filler in, or hardener in here, because it's so hot out. Now, chances are this is probably going to harden up before I get it all done, which means I'm going to have to mix up more, but it is what it is. I mean, there's only so much you could do. Usually it'll be a little bit darker color than this, but as hot as it is, you have to lessen that hardener to give yourself a little bit more workability, work time, whatever you want to call it. Also, try to keep your filler out of the sun if you can, because that's just going to make it dry even faster. Down here, there's just a ton of pits in the particle board. So I'm just dragging it real tight just to fill it in. Yep, stuff's already starting to stiffen up. Isn't that crazy how quick this stuff sets? got it all. Look at that. You're seeing this in live action right here. That's how quick this stuff is setting up with barely any hardener in it because it's so damn hot out. So I got to get a couple spots on that side. I'll do that off camera. And then I'll be back in a little bit and we will get it sanded down. Okay, I'm going to sand down the sides, the fronts, the backs, everything. We're going to do it in high speed. I'm using 180 grit on my DA sander. And I'm going to make sure I keep my pad nice and flat on the surface. I don't want to arch it from one side to the other because then we're going to make dips in the surface, which is going to make it look like crap when it's done. So let's get going here, get this thing knocked down, and then we'll see what it looks like. Once I'm done sanding it all, we'll touch up any little nicks if we need to. Now we're going to put some more primer on it. All right, let me show you this real quick, then I'm going to keep going off camera. It's take me probably a half an hour to do the whole thing, but it's extremely smooth, extremely smooth. So we have some breakthroughs here, and that's why I'm going to primer it a second time, which I knew that was going to happen. We also need to figure out what size hole that is, and we're going to draw out the other ones before we primer again. Because if you look around this one, we got to do a little bit more body filler. It's got a little bit of an indent around there. So I would say, by the way it's sanding right now, I would say it's going to be 90% perfect after this primering. And we're going to put 2 more coats on, and we're going to get it to that 100%. When you're doing a cabinet that's more rare, like this, or a, let me think off the top of my head, boy, I don't even know, like a Tron cabinet, they're not as, available, or I can't even think right now. But anyway, Journey. If you're doing a Journey cabinet or something like that, something that's more rare, take a little bit extra time and get it over the finish line. Get it better, because you want to preserve it as long as possible, especially like a Journey cabinet. They supposedly made like 1,000 of them. I don't know how many upright or sit-down spy hunters they made, or uprights for that matter. But they're an expensive game, and they bring a lot of money. So you want to have it nice. And you want to be able to preserve it for as long as possible. Are you ever going to see anything like this produced ever again in this world? No, you're not. So why not save it for future people to be able to see this and realize what it was like back in the early 80s, because if this stuff goes away because it's just half-assed put together or just let go to waste, then you know what I mean. It's like almost like having a museum in your house if you have games like this, because it gives the ability for people to look at it and be like, man, that's how stuff was back then. It was built that well. They put, don't get me wrong, the circuit boards and stuff were pretty big. The only reason these cabinets are as big as they are is because of the CRT monitors. If you think about it, 90% of the cabinet is there to house the monitor. You know what I mean? If the monitor didn't have a big tube on it and like that, you could cut this cabinet in half its size. But that's the way it is. Same thing with like this Space Encounters, You got to save this stuff. Don't let that go to waste. Just because you see that and you're like, oh, that's beyond my skill level. Nothing's beyond your skill level if you're willing to do it and try it. And who cares if you screw up? You just keep working at it until you get it to look right. Eventually you're going to get it. You know what I mean? It's just how much, if you're willing to put the work into it. If you're not willing to put the work into it, then hopefully you could pass it on to somebody that will want to. So, all right, I'm going to keep sanding. It's freaking hot out. It's got to be 92, 93 by now. So I'm going to sweat my butt off and get this thing sanded down. This is probably the best scenario weather that you can have to work outside and do primering and stuff on an arcade cabinet. This is totally, I'm gonna paint this outside too, just to show you guys that you can do an awesome job, have it turn out awesome, and do it outside in your driveway rather than having a shop with your spray booth and all that other fancy stuff. I'm gonna prove to you right here that you don't need that. You can still spray with the spray gun and all that stuff and still have it turn out good. So I'll be back once I get done sanding it. All right, it's all sanded down. I went over, there was a couple nicks here. Yeah, I know you're not gonna see it. There's a thing that covers it, but I don't do that. I try to just fix everything. And it's stupid hot out here, guys. I ain't built for this shit. As you can see, I'm sweating my butt off. I feel like Charlie. Charlie, if you're watching this from Overtime Arcade, I feel you, buddy. He was here at Arcade Jason's delivering games, just pouring sweat. And I get it, man. It's freaking bad out. It's brutal. But we're gonna keep pushing forward. I sanded down the back door. Now look at this. That's a factory screw up from the router. So it must have just come around the corner here and rode up on the wood. I'm leaving that. I could easily fill that in and make it look like it wasn't there, but I'm gonna leave it. Screw it. That's definitely a factory flaw. So now there's some staples on this front edge here. From when they stapled the carpet down. Let's see if I can zoom in here. You can sort of see them, and I want to pull them out because I'm going to put that rubber on here, and I don't want it to protrude out at all because of these staples are hanging out. So I'm going to take a set of side cutters and a metal blade, and I'm going to hold this metal blade here and hopefully be able to get these out if I have enough room to grab the staple. Yep, just like that. Okay, so these are the staples I'm taking out. Now, the reason why I'm using the metal blade is to keep me from marring up the wood with my side cutters. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'm gonna get these things blown off, and then we are gonna primer everything. We're gonna probably put 2 to 3 coats of primer on the back door and 2 coats on the cabinet. Do the sides of the cabinet need more? In all reality, no. There's a little bit of bare wood showing, but I would rather just completely seal it up. We're here. I mean, what's another day or two? You know what I mean? If it wasn't a game that was as desirable or that valuable, I could see stopping here, painting it, putting the art over it. Once the art goes over it, you're not going to notice it anyways. But let's just go that one step farther. It's not even my cabinet. I know people will be like, why are you putting this much effort into it if it's not even yours? Because when people bring me stuff, they want it to be nice. You know, they bring it to me for a reason. They know I'm going to go the extra step to get it to the point where it needs to be. And I just don't cut corners when it comes to that. There's no reason to. So same thing with you guys. You know, if you're working on your own game, I mean, a lot of people take, you know, a year or 6 months to restore a game. And that's way too long if you ask my opinion. But if that's what makes you happy, and that's all the time you have, or if that's just what you want to do, if you want to only spend an hour here and there, do it. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying it's bad. Me personally, I don't have the time to do that. I got to get stuff done. And, but, you know, like I said, the seat area is all getting covered. The floor is getting covered. There's side rails that cover the bottom sides most of the way down, you know, but I just want it to be nice. I'm not putting the floors on. I'm not putting the side rails on. So I want the customer to get the cabinet and look at it and be like, damn, that's nice, before they cover it. You know what I mean? Be like, damn, he did a nice job on that. Not just a bunch of nicks and scratches and dents that they're going to cover up. At least then they know it was taken care of. And we've completely sealed this particle board. I was able to take my DA sander down the edges right here and sand that smooth. And guess what? It didn't chip out the edge of the particle board because we now have basically glued any loose particle board back together with that primer. So I'm gonna get these staples out, blow all this off, and we're gonna put a couple coats of primer on it, and then that'll be the end of this video. Amazon said between 2:30 and 6:30. I think it's like 3:30 right now. So hopefully in the next couple hours they'll be here, and we'll be hopefully polishing glass. And if the glass turns out good, I'm going to go ahead and get the black painted on the cocktail cabinet and put it in the sun so that I can take it in the house. I'm going to run up to Home Depot after I'm done with this and get a set of locks for the sides. I'm just going to keep this lock on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this lock on here, and I'm going to put new side locks on and just put the keys in there. I'm not going to clean, or I'm not going to redo the coin mechanism or anything like that. I'm going to leave it as is. I'm just going to magic eraser stuff up, just clean it up, and we're going to leave it as a survivor. I have somewhere in the basement I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it in the hallway, and I'm going to leave it. Let's say the hallway is going this way. Okay, the hallway is about 4 feet wide. This is about 20 inches wide. So I'm going to lean it up against the wall. Okay, and there's still a couple feet to walk past it. Plus the hallway I'm putting it in, the only thing past the bathroom doorway, which is going to be after the bathroom doorway, would be the gym or the storage room where I do my repairs to monitors and stuff. So when I have people over to play games or something, I can easily take this thing and spin it in the hallway and still have a foot of room to kind of just squeeze by it to get to the other player side. Problem solved. I can have a cocktail table, and it really shouldn't be in the way, because in theory, other than getting around it to play the other side, there's no reason to go into the gym or the storage room, so it should work out well. And if I ever need to carry something down the hallway or something, I'm going to put felt pads on the bottom of this. I'll just slide it into the bathroom. Be able to get down the hallway when I'm done, slide it back into the hallway. I'll show you once we get it down there. It'll work out really well. I like it. I honestly, somebody had sent a message the other day and said, I think this game's better than Space Invaders. And I agree. I really think it's better too. I think it's not as hard in my opinion. And I think it's a little bit easier to play. And it does cooler things, in my opinion, you know, where you fill up with your fuel after the fourth board and stuff like that. You know, Space Invaders doesn't do stuff like that. And I like the sounds better on this, too. I just think it's just unique, something different. You don't see it often. So, all right, I'm going to quit talking, get these staples out, get it stuff blown off, and then we're going to get some more primer. See that bag hanging on the bottom of that door? That has some original paperwork and stuff in it. I'm leaving it alone. I'm not unstapling it. We're not painting the back side of the door. We're going to leave that as is. All right, let's get these things primered and we'll wrap up this video. All right, that's it. There's 2 coats of primer on everything, 3 on the door. I forgot to drill the holes for the sides of the cabinet, so we'll just have to do that and do a little bit of minor body touch-ups on that, and then a little bit of spray can primer. Not a huge deal. I don't know how I forgot to do those, but if you can see, I don't know how bright it is, but it is really, really smooth now. And look at these edges, guys. Look at that. Once that's sanded, those tiny, tiny little nicks are all going to be gone. It's nice and smooth, and you can see how, look at how smooth this edge is getting. And that's particle board. So it turned out real nice. So, all right, I'm gonna end this video. I think this is part 9 of the Spy Hunter sit down restoration. Tomorrow we are going to work on the parts over here. We're gonna take the monitor out of the frame, clean that up, paint that silver. We will clean and paint the gas pedal assembly, the power brick, other miscellaneous brackets and stuff like that. We'll get all that stuff sanded down and painted. It's all in really good shape. We need to get these two broken screws out of here. This has a little bit of rust, but not a big deal. We'll sand it down, we'll grind it down, and we'll Krylon spray this and all the other parts. I'm not going to take this apart as far as I took mine apart, because especially the handlebars, that was a nightmare. That was really, really pain in the ass to put back together, and I don't ever want to do that again. So, but we'll get it all cleaned up and painted. We'll get a lot of this done tomorrow. And then later on this week, we're going to get the cabinet painted. These parts will be ready, and we'll be able to start putting this thing back together. We're still going to have to do some work on the PCB. I don't know if it's something I can fix or not. Hopefully, it's just going to be something stupid, and we'll clean it up and get it up and running. If not, might have to send it off for a week or so to get looked at, but we'll see what happens. I'm sort of confident I can fix it, but we'll see what happens. Trying to think if there's anything else. Hopefully I put those legs in far enough. Looks like I did. I'm just looking at the cabinet now, and where I placed these legs inside the front cabinet, those front adjustable legs, looks like they're in about an inch from that edge, because I didn't even account for that plywood sliding in there on each side of it. But it looks like it's just going to clear it. So thank God for that. I would have came up with another method if not. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And I did get an alert on my phone from Amazon saying that the package has been delivered. It's on my front porch. So I am going to end this video, upload it, and then we are going to open up that package and try to polish some glass. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Any questions or comments, feel free to ask. Other than that, guys, I'll see you guys later. Have a good afternoon.